In this video, you will discover the 7 clues on whether you should keep trying with him or not. Hi, I'm Antia, founder and creator of the Magnetize Your Man Method, and make sure you stay to the very end of this video as we have a very special gift for you that will help you out with this a ton. Should I stay or should I go? Here are the 7 clues. Clue number 7 is, are your future goals and values truly aligned? Now, I know you've heard this before, but let me say it again. Values is so important. It is important that you are both looking into the same direction. For instance, it is really important that you have a very similar mindset around what it means to have a family. Do you want a family? Do you want kids? Does he want kids? Do you want kids? Or you don't want kids, right? The same is true around values, oftentimes religion, and so on and so forth, right? Anything that has to do with true, deep core values that are never changing, right? Are they aligned, right? Like if you're more modern, right? And he's more traditional, that may not work out, right? So you have to really look, or maybe you're more traditional and he's more modern. That doesn't work out, right? So just really seeing, okay, are your values, right, really truly aligned with each other? I cannot tell you how many times I talk to Brody and I just say like, wow, I'm so happy we can talk about all of this because we have really similar values, right? We have similar ways of how we want to raise kids. We have similar values on money management, although that's I think like one of those things sometimes with couples, right? It's like, okay, one person's the spender, one person is the saver, right? One person's the money monk. So money may be a little bit of an exception as long as it's not too extreme, right? So too extreme could definitely be a deal breaker. So ask yourself, are your values truly aligned? Clue number 6 is, do his actions match his words? Is what he thinks, what he says, and what he does in alignment? Does he have integrity? Right? Because it's really important for you to be able to trust him. If he doesn't have integrity, if you can't trust him, how in the world are you going to build a foundation in which you can weather life together with, right? I mean, life is not always easy. There's complexity that's coming in the way. And if you don't even have the natural foundation of trust, because every time when he says something, you're actually wondering, is he going to keep it? Is he going to say something? Is he going to act on it? Is he not going to act on it? And it leaves you in this fog of self-doubt and questioning yourself, right? Not a good foundation to continue the relationship. As a matter of fact, what it will lead to long-term, and I will be honest with you, is you will actually develop more coping and protection mechanisms because you're honestly protecting yourself from him. So secretly inside of yourself, you know that you can't trust him. And this can either look like that you're starting to withdraw and to close up your heart, or that you actually become reactive way more, right? And really defending yourself more and more because you don't trust him to be in the driver's seat. Clue number 5 is, are you attracted to him on all levels, or is it just your anxious attachment style? Now, here's what happens so often. When we meet a man and he really speaks into our anxious attachment style, he's oftentimes more on the avoidant attachment style scale, right? Like he's actually sort of playing out that role of the dad that never followed through, or where you never got the approval from your dad. And so now you're trying to get that approval from your partner. But of course, it's the very same dynamic where you give all your power away. Then you really choose this relationship based on anxiety. Now, here's the problem. When you do that, you actually also generalize, right? You say oh yeah, everything else is not so bad. It's yeah, we're not completely aligned here, and he's not the most intellectually stimulating person on the planet. Or right, but we have the sexual chemistry, that's really, really great, right? And we don't really have this emotional intimacy so much because he's much more avoidant and he's not really leaning in, or he's not really staying when it gets hot, when we get into an argument. He's always checking out and leaving, right? So ask yourself, are you really attracted to him on all levels? Which means, are you attracted to him on a mental level? Is he intellectually stimulating to you, right? Can you talk about topics day and night? Are you attracted to him, of course, on a physical level? Very important, sexual chemistry, right? Are you attracted to him on also an energetic level? So what that means is not like loving who he is, but what he is, right? Do you like his energy? Does that make sense? Because sometimes we love someone, we don't like them though, right? So like really asking yourself, okay, do you really like this? Do you really like this person? Do you really like this energy, right? And then lastly, are you connected emotionally? Is there emotional intimacy? Is there vulnerability? And by the way, from both sides, right? Do you really feel emotionally safe with this man? If that's not the case, then definitely leave the relationship, because like I said before, if you don't feel emotionally safe, you will develop coping and protection mechanisms, and you will continue to play them out, and you will go into the same cycles of lack of fulfillment and disappointment over and over again. So that will be essentially your emotional home will be disappointment. So it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, and you continue to stay in the same loop over and over again. My recommendation, get out. Which of course leads me to clue number 4, which is, does he share his emotions with you, right? Is he like sort of like this hermit? He never shares anything with you. You don't really know where you stand with him. You really never know, like, how's he emotionally feeling about you, or how is he emotionally feeling about the situation, right? Or when he becomes vulnerable, is he just withdrawing and checking out and becoming invisible and disconnect? Or is he actually leaning in and saying, hey, this is really uncomfortable for me, but I want to stay, right? Or I want to argue, right? I want to show up. I want to engage, right? Is he leaning in, or is he leaning out? Does he engage with you emotionally, right? Because this is also really important for that younger part inside of yourself called the little girl, right? Because she needs to know that she is safe emotionally, like I said, in clue number 5. Clue number 3 is, does he make real time for you, and does he make you a priority, right? So this is really important, because for some of you, like, you're maybe dating somebody who's a workaholic, who's really married to his business, or maybe spends half of the day in the gym, right? He hangs out with his friends and his buddies all the time, and there is no room for you. Or he's so connected with his nuclear family, right? With his parents or siblings, or whatever the case may be, and there's just no room for you. Also, sometimes, and here's where you have to be very honest with yourself, are you a priority enough? If you're dating a man who has a child, can he make you a priority to the way that you need it? I see this a lot of women that come to me where they're really asking the question, right? This guy's amazing. He, like, he's there for me, but I don't feel like a priority, right? He has a child and I don't get the attention. Now, this depends on your attachment style. That depends on how much you already resourced yourself, but that's also something to ask yourself when it comes to priorities. But really seeing, does everything else has ever always priority? Does his ex-wife have more priority than your needs, right? Or anybody else is like more important, because what's important to him is how he comes off to other people, how he appears to other people. He wants to appease to other people, but he doesn't care that he doesn't appease you, that he doesn't make you happy, right? So really important, does he make you feel important? Are you a priority? Does he treat you like a queen? Does he go out of his way, right? If that's not the case, right, again, my recommendation is to leave the relationship. Clue number 2 is he a man you respect and admire? Now, I see this a lot, that like a lot of women are falling, sort of like loving a man, right? Like, I love the little boy and I love who he is in the world, but I don't really respect him, right? I don't really like admire him. There's maybe not that much chemistry, right? So that's oftentimes the case when a man is not really connected to his wild man, right? Or to his king, there is something that's not unapologetic about him. There's something where he's like bending over backwards, where you can walk all over him. And there's this lack of that lack of respect towards him. Right? So really asking yourself, do you respect and admire this man, right? Because if you don't, do him and yourself a favor and leave. There's nothing more emasculating than to date a man that you don't really respect, and he can actually feel that you don't really respect him, because what ends up happening long term is that you're actually going to start to be like condescending, resentful, you're making like emasculating comments, right? You're belittling him, you're making sort of like joking side comments and things like that, right? You don't even notice that, but it comes from that lack of respect that you have for him, right? Because you know he's not standing up for himself. Like, in order for you to respect him, you need to actually know that he's going to hold his own in the relationship, right? That you can only seduce him, quote unquote, so far. Like, I'll give you an example here, right? When I met my husband in Hawaii, and I thought, like, yes, he's an entrepreneur and he works from 9 to 5, so whatever. But I'll just swing by whenever I swing by, and I'll just interrupt it. I'm just going to distract him and it'll be great, right? And the minute where I actually gained massive respect for him was when he actually put me in my place and actually said, no, I told you I work from 9 to 5. Again, this goes back to the integrity piece, right? So was I like upset about this? Yeah, I was like super annoyed at that, right? I was like, I'm here right now, like make me a priority, right? But actually, I'm like, wow, I really started to respect the heck out of this man, right? I think from this moment on forward, I really knew that this could really be a man long term that I can really, really respect, because he will not budge. So ask yourself, do you respect this man? Do you admire him? And lastly, clue number 1, does he meet your authentic standards? Now, here's the thing, it's kind of tricky sometimes because standards can change, right? But you may have standards, right? You may want to have somebody who's like energetically sophisticated. You may want somebody who's really working on himself consistently, or who's committed to spiritual growth. So that was certainly the case for me. That was like no way around this, right? My standard was definitely, you have to be committed to spiritual growth. You have to be return to your spiritual core. There has to be this desire to connect to something higher than yourself, right? So that would be a standard. And what I often see, and I just had experience with that with a woman going through my program, right? That she actually was like very, very spiritual, very advanced, and her husband was like not meeting those standards anymore. Like they were just completely on different pages. So really asking yourself, what are your standards? So identify what are your standards. And then, of course, like this is really important. You have to be clear, right? Because nobody can meet your standards. They don't even know what they are. But then the second part is actually, does he meet your standards? Or do you feel like, oh, I need to constantly compromise, right? I have to constantly like sort of step down, right? I'm actually being stifled in my growth, right? If that's the case, it may be time to go. If you like this video, here's what's next. Number 1, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel so you get more videos like this coming to you soon. Number 2, watch our customized playlist course on how to get a man to commit to you. And lastly, number 3, take our free Magnetize Your Man quiz, where you get personalized strategies just for you by simply clicking that link below or going to magnetizeyourman.com. Ladies, I had such a fun creating this video. I'll talk to you next time.